Hey guys, welcome back. So sorry for the delay. Had a little bit of trouble over the last couple of days, but we're back at it. So it's time again for another What's Happening in Fashion. And first and foremost, I just want to start off by saying to everybody that subscribed over the last week and everybody that gave advice and everybody that's helped out, thank you all very much. It's super appreciated. You have no idea. For a small channel like this, any little bit helps, and I'm going to just try and keep improving as much as possible. So with that, let's get into it. So to start off with, the Mr. Porter YouTube put out a small video. They have a series called TikTok, which is about watches. Fantastic name if you ask me. But they just put out their 4th episode. It's about the Nomos class shoot. Now if you're not familiar with the brand, this is a great introductory video to get into. Personally, I've heard both pros and cons to the brand, but if you're especially getting into looking at watches and learning more about that sort of thing, this is a good place to start. So next up, Undercover and Sacai released their latest capsule collection. It's mainly just a bunch of graphic t-shirts and an overcoat, but even so, if you're a fan of graphic tees and need to pick up a couple more, or you've never been introduced to Undercover before, this is a great place to start. Yeah, not much else to say about that. And speaking of Sacai, they just got a restock on their North Face collaboration. Now, if you didn't see it before, I would definitely give it a look out. It's a little bit of everything. There's t-shirts, there's long sleeves, there's a bunch of jackets, and if you've ever been interested in Sacai or just want to look up something new as far as techwear, this is a great place to start. I would definitely give it just a quick overlook, although if you are going to buy anything, I would definitely recommend obviously not buying a t-shirt because, you know, why buy a North Face t-shirt for triple the price? But even so, if you're interested in techwear, mountain wear, anything like that, I'd definitely give it a look. Haven, the Canadian staple, the boutique giant themselves, if you've never heard of Haven, definitely go check out their website. It's a store obviously based out of Canada, and they specialize in a lot of different menswear that you wouldn't see elsewhere. So they carry a lot of like reconstructed stuff, tech wear, heritage wear, a bunch of streetwear. Definitely worth a look if you've never heard of them before. But so anyway, they just had a remodel of their store for its 10th anniversary, and honestly, looks fantastic. I mean, when you want something boutique without looking bougie, I think they did all that. And if you ever happen to be in the area, I would definitely give it a look and a stop by. Then, in why the fuck am I talking about this news, Gucci released a logo sweatband for $270. Because fuck fashion, right? And just so you know, if I didn't have to tell you already, if you buy a $270 Gucci sweatband, you're a fucking idiot. Going back to watch news, Breitling just released a boutique edition of their Super Avenger chronograph. And honestly, it looks fantastic. And the fact that it's the first watch they have that's using their in-house movement, I have to say, honestly, Breitling, congratulations. It's a big step in the right direction. And although it's only 100 made, and although it's $8,000, as far as watch prices go, that's pretty solid. So once again, if you're looking in the watches, I definitely read this article as well. Then, in magazine news, the Berrics released their first issue of their new magazine, which I can only assume is an attempt to put as many Nike and DC ads as they can in a paper book before getting yelled at. But in all seriousness, shout out to the Berrics. I wish you luck. People say paper media is dying, and I'd love to see more magazines out there, so good luck. I hope it works out for you. Nigo and United Arrows came together again for the Nigold collection for Fall/Winter 2017, and I have to say the lookbook looks really nice. Everything looks really clean, there's enough colors that pop out, and honestly, even if you're wearing business wear, it's not too far of a stretch. So if you're interested in that kind of style, I definitely give it a look. Public School also released their Fall/Winter 2017 lookbook, and I have to say, it's different. Now, I've come to know Public School as being this clean, contemporary brand, and seeing them kind of go into grunge wear, I'm not that big of a fan of it, honestly. There's already enough brands out there doing that, and although the duo behind Public School is very creative and they do a lot of really inspiring things, this is definitely not that. But if you're still a fan of Public School, I'd give it a look. CGNY also released their 2017 Fall/Winter lookbook, and it looks okay. In all honesty, the muted colors isn't that much of a problem. They have an image and a style, and they're going for it, and it looks fine. And enough of the detailing on it is interesting enough that it's definitely worth a look. However, I think the idea of just adding more pretentious words to a piece of clothing has been done to death, and it could do without. But either way, I'd say definitely worth a look. Hingston and Sophnet also just released a 20th anniversary capsule collection, and if you're a fan of dip dye, then this is definitely for you. But aside from that, seeing kind of the heritage workwear aspects of the clothing mixed with all the crazy stuff that Sophnet has done over the years, I mean, when it comes down to it, Sophnet is the master of mixing those two styles, and honestly, fantastic job. Golden Goose is also releasing a capsule collection for their 10th anniversary, and true to their name, it's completely golden. It's all gold. But even aside from that, if you're a fan of the brand or have never looked into the brand before, I think this is a really nice place to start. Not everything they do is actually gold. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Then, in company names that are hard to pronounce, TTT_MSW released their Spring/Summer 2018 lookbook. And it's alright. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's contemporary menswear. It's nothing too ambitious. It's nothing too subtle. Overall, not necessarily my cup of tea, but there's nothing in there that's necessarily bad either. But if you're interested in contemporary wear, I'd definitely give it a look. Second Layer also released their Fall/Winter 2017 lookbook, and I dig it. I mean, it's definitely slacker core, and if you're interested in that kind of aesthetic, it's right up the alleyway. But I like how they kind of evolved it from their last collection. It's a little bit nicer, it's a little bit more grown up, and so if you're kind of in that slacker vibe but want to dress maybe in a suit coat, I definitely give this a check out. Denim also posted their Fall/Winter 2017 lookbook, and honestly, it looks absolutely great. Even though Lee is one of the big 3 denim brands in America, I think they often get overlooked on everything aside from their denim, and I mean even their denim. So seeing this lookbook, I think will introduce a lot more people into how good their workwear and heritage wear is, even though the majority of it is really only good in Europe. But still, good start. The Hundreds also released the capsule collection for Friday the 13th, even though it was a couple days ago, and honestly, at least I can say it looks a hell of a lot better than the Roger Rabbit collaboration. Other UK also released their Fall/Winter 2017 lookbook, and honestly, it's just more of the same. Like, how many brands have to do lines of text and asymmetrical graphics and just steal from every other company that's already done it before them? Like, no offense to a hell of a lot of other brands do it too, no pun intended. But even so, it's just like, I'm tired of seeing the same shit over and over and over again. Just stop, please. Do something original. Hypebeast did a nice little article based on what they think people will be wearing in the UK in Fall/Winter 2017. But just so you know, it's not done by the Hypebeast people, because obviously they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Fortunately, what they did do is they went to a bunch of UK retailers and talked to their buyers, and they have a good grasp on everything. So if you're into the business side of that, I'd definitely give it a look. Koons and Thom Browne released a collaborative collection for Fall/Winter 2017, and honestly, it's fantastic. In all honesty, if you told me it was just Thom Browne, I wouldn't know the difference. It looks like a lot of his stuff, and I say that in the best way possible. So if you're interested in anything he's ever done, definitely give that a look. Stereo Vinyls also released a Fall/Winter 2017 lookbook, and honestly, I really dig it. A lot of people have been saying this has a lot of Raf Simons and Ruby Sterling vibes to it, but in all honesty, just because something has pictures of space and planets on it doesn't obviously make it Raf Simons right off the bat, okay? Personally, I think it's a little bit more streetwear inspired than that, and it's definitely worth a look if you're interested in any aspect of streetwear. Jeff Koons and Louis Vuitton got together once again for another Masters collection, and I personally love it. If you're not familiar with the collection, the original Masters collection they released maybe a year or two ago, and it's all just classic art pieces that are super, super well known, and they put it and inscribe it on the bags. Personally, if you're interested in art or fashion or anything along those lines, even if you're not a huge Louis Vuitton fan or Jeff Koons fan or even a bag fan in general, it's definitely worth a look. Also, shout outs to Virgil for trying to put a strap on that with the word strap on it and calling it a collaboration. Fucking dumbass. In other store news, Commonwealth, the streetwear boutique giant from the East Coast, has announced they're going to be opening a store in Los Angeles in fall 2017. Honestly, I like the idea. As far as Commonwealth goes, they've always been a super great store and definitely one of the powerhouses in the US streetwear storefront. However, I think this idea is probably about a decade too late. But even so, good luck Commonwealth, I'll be rooting for you. Maharishi released the Fall/Winter 2017 lookbook, and honestly, it looks really good. I mean, when it comes down to it, Maharishi does what Maharishi does best, and that's military wear, and this is more of that. So, I mean, can't go wrong with it, can you? On a quick side note, maybe it's just me, but I feel like a lot of people have been doing tiger jackets lately. Like, tiger military wear jackets. And I know, like, the historical implications of it, but still, it's like every company seems to have done it. Art Comes First also released their Fall/Winter 2017 lookbook, and honestly, it's also very good. I mean, when it comes to Art Comes First, it's exactly what you'd expect. It's black, it's clean, it's styled really well, it looks like it's designed really well. Overall, really fantastic job, and definitely worth taking a look at. Japanese brand Nendo released a short little video about what they're doing to help design new zippers with YKK. And honestly, if there's one video or one article you read this week, it's this one. The video is only a minute long and it shows a couple different designs they're working with on new zipper technology. And honestly, if they make any of these a reality, it'll be a fucking game changer. So good luck to them. I'd like to see where this goes. Scotch Soda also released their Fall/Winter 2017 lookbook, and honestly, I really like it. Up until a year or two ago, I was never really a fan of Scotch Soda, but honestly, I don't know if it's a new designer or just new styling or whatever it is, but the last couple of seasons have been absolutely fantastic, so I guess just keep it up. Good job. Tommy Hilfiger released a 90s inspired capsule collection, and honestly, this is it. This is the prime 90s collection. Like, as I've said before, and I'll continue to say, as far as 90s style goes, I'm not a huge fan of it overall, but this collection just encapsulates the 90s better than any brand that's tried to reinvent it or redesign it in the last couple of years. So even though it's probably a little too late, like they're definitely jumping on this bandwagon really, really late in this style. Even so, like, great job. If you're interested in 90s style, definitely give this a check out. NikeLab and Riccardo Tischi also released their lookbook for their new collaboration together, and honestly, also really good, really, really good. It's definitely a lot better than the first collaboration they put together, and honestly, seeing a couple more outerwear pieces, tops, that sort of thing, that are a little bit both heritage and tech inspired, it's definitely nice, it's refreshing, and it's a little bit different, so definitely worth a look. Nigold also put out another fantastic article this week about what they believe are the next upcoming and new British designers on the scene. If you're not really familiar with more of the high-end designers coming out of Britain, I'd say this is definitely a nice way to start, even though there are some brands in there like Story MFG that do like workwear. Even so, I think it's really important to know some of these designers that are up and coming because obviously they're going to be leading the generation in the next 2 to 3 decades. So definitely worth a look and definitely worth a read if you're interested in more so the background of fashion. Business of Fashion put out a short little article about how some magazines are attempting to sell their covers to brands nowadays. Now I will say there isn't a lot of information here, but if you are interested in kind of the industry and the marketing behind fashion, it's definitely a nice read and it might give you more of an idea of where the industry is going, especially with paper. The New York Times put out an interesting article about how gossip in every industry, but especially now in fashion industry, is ruining everything. Honestly, it's kind of an interesting article. Maybe it'll get its own other video, I don't know, I haven't decided yet. But at the very least, it's kind of an interesting take on how some people view the industry, even inside the industry, and kind of the inner workings of some of the more toxic things in the industry. I would definitely give it a read. Nigold also released another article called Why Vetements Wouldn't Exist Without Cindy Sherman, Walter van Beirendonck, and Bernard Wilhelm. And I have to say, if you were interested in everything I was talking about in my last video about maximalism versus gaudy, this is an article you should read. It really goes into the history behind the 3 designers I mentioned and how they kind of paved the way for allowing gaudiness to exist in the industry. Definitely a worthwhile article. The website Jing Daily released an article about how VPNs could change the way people in China are going to be purchasing luxury wear from now on. And it's definitely, once more, one of those articles that if you're interested in the business side of fashion, it's worth a read, especially if you know your company is going to be working with China anytime in the near future. Retail Dive also put out an article about why selling and marketing to Gen Z has been different and continues to be different compared to any other generation before it. It kind of makes you think a little bit differently about how maybe necessarily the internet has changed a lot of things as far as like social behaviors and just, you know, the way people live in general. So, but even more so, I guess I should say, if you're interested in kind of the marketing aspects of fashion, this is definitely worth the read. Loose Threads also put out an article about why should a company invest in Supreme when their secondary market is so much stronger. And personally, I think that's a dumb question to ask. I mean, when it comes down to it, investors and companies can't control the secondary market. Like, that's something that's created and perpetuated entirely by resellers. Fuck resellers. But even so, it's mainly done by them and just by the hype surrounding the brands. You can't control that and you can't sell it like that. So, I mean, it's kind of a dumb question to ask. But they even themselves bring up in the article about how it looks like Supreme's going to start investing in China and Korea. And if that's the case, of course you should invest in Supreme. I would invest in Supreme if I had the money to do it. So, interesting article overall, but it's asking the wrong questions. Complex put out a fun little article this week as well, titled the top 50 best brands of the 90s. And personally, I would say I agree with maybe 35 to 40 of the brands. They did a decent job. And I mean, it's always funny to hear about like Fubu and Peli Peli again, because I mean, how long has it been since they've been a highlight? So at the very least, if you're interested in taking a trip down memory lane, it's a fun little article to scroll through. The Cut released an article on the history of Brian Philiphs, who's one of the marketing guys behind, or was behind, Eddie Slimane when he was at YSL, and even Opening Ceremony. And if you're, once again, interested in the marketing side of business, I would definitely give this an article a read. It kind of gives you the insight into one of the more prominent figures in the industry. Heddles also released an article called The 11 Selvedge Denim Factories You Should Know. And if you're interested in denim and kind of like high-end denim, it's definitely worth the read. I mean, most of these selvage factories are out of Japan and Europe, and in all honesty, there's not really a lot of information on the web about these, or there didn't used to be. There's more now. But if you're ever interested in getting into this sort of thing, this is a nice little introductory piece. And last but not least, Arrow and Epilot came together and made a site where you can customize a leather jacket, which I think is a really cool idea. And although the starting price is a little steep, they start at $1,200. If you've ever wanted to make a custom leather jacket that fits you a little bit better than what you've ever tried on at a store, this is a great place to start. Alright guys, and with that, we're finally at the end of what's happening in fashion this week. Let me know what you think about the new design of it. Did you like the fact that there was jump cuts in this one? Did you prefer the old method of just doing one single track all the way through? Hopefully this video is at least a little bit shorter, but I guess we'll find out once I'm done with it. And once again, I do want to say, as I started the video with, I do just want to say again, thank you all for all the advice and all the help and support so far. I hope it's getting better. I definitely think it's getting a little bit better, but we'll see, I guess. Alright guys, and with that, expect at least one if not two more videos this week, and until next time.